Welcome in, guys. This is the Own Yourself Show. It's been a while since I recorded. I've been real caught up with work. By the way, my name is Alex Ardell. I will be your speaker today and walk you through the new developments in the Epstein story. Last time I did something on the Epstein story, I kind of said this could be the last we hear about it. It wasn't the last we hear about it. We now hear about it in connection to this cover up with regards to ABC. So I'm kind of assuming as I'm recording this video that you're all pretty familiar with this. There was a lady, Amy Robach, who was caught on tape. She's an ABC anchor. She apparently had the Epstein story, and it was squashed by the network. Now, this is being called a cover up. That's kind of the words that you hear connected, or the word you hear connected to this video that Project Veritas put out. So they caught her on and basically a hot mic on video that she didn't know was being recorded. Or somehow it all looks like really professional footage, which is kind of weird, right? There's no shaky video. So I don't know the details of how they actually got this video of her talking, but she does seem to be saying that ABC squashed this story. So she had a story on Epstein. She had the interview with the accuser, and ABC squashed the story for a number of reasons. Now, we're hearing the word cover up because, well, for obvious reasons. I mean, it seems like a cover up. Like ABC is covering for people involved in this Epstein story. Now, the wording cover up really seems like a misdeed or a misstep by ABC, as if ABC was doing something corrupt, doing something it shouldn't be doing. You could kind of tie that word to a scandal, right? Like if there's a cover up of something, you could also call that a scandal at ABC. So there's now an Epstein scandal at ABC. Who's responsible for this cover up, etc. I believe you should not be calling this a cover up. This is business as usual. This is the nature of the media business. So when we say things like the Epstein cover up, we're kind of implying that ABC would ever report on the Epstein story. And right, they squashed a story. They didn't squash the story. The story was never going to see air for a number of reasons. I've done episodes on the media business model. The media business model is a middleman business model. So they have a source that has information, and they are middlemaning the information to you, the consumer, and that's just what they are. They're just the middleman for information. So what's the most important thing in a middleman situation? Like what gets Al Pacino or what turns him into the cocaine king in Scarface? It's definitely that there are consumers, but there's always going to be a consumer of his drugs. The reason that makes him a good middleman is he has a good source. He has the source in Colombia or wherever he goes, to get the coke. He brings it back to America. He sells it. He's a middleman. So the most important thing in that scenario is the source. It's where he is getting the product that he's middlemaning. This is the same thing as in media. There's always going to be a consumer of narrative. There's always going to be someone who wants to consume narrative. Uh, Now, the important part is who has the sources. You or I don't have the same sources to be able to compete with ABC. Uh, this is why they want to squash alternative media. They don't like them. They don't like a place like Project Veritas. It's because Veritas will kind of go around and create their own sources. And oftentimes the middlemen become the sources themselves because you find out stories that you otherwise wouldn't have found out. And so the media, like the corporate mainstream media, who has this middleman business model, is always going to protect their sources. So, and that was in that story. I mean, it's hidden right in the story. You can say on camera, Amy Robach, I think her name is. I have it here. Yeah, Amy Robach. She actually says that they were afraid they would lose an interview with the royal family. So the way it's worded and the way a lot of outlets who are covering this, who are really just some conservative media and some alternative media, the way they're covering it, it makes it sound like the royal family made them squash the story, and that's the cover up. That's not really accurate. They were afraid they would lose their source, the royal family. If you want your coverage of the prince and princess, you have to go to ABC, right? You have to go through these networks. And the royal family plays that on one end. They aren't just going to let anyone come in, any journalist come in and cover them. They want a positive story about them, or they want to be able to control the narrative. They want to give that narrative to someone who will keep it intact for the consumer. And that's going to be these large corporate outlets who understand the business model. So Coverup is inaccurate. This is simply the way the media business works. This is what you get every single day when you turn the TV on. The difference is you just found out about one of the stories that aren't covered. How many fucking stories are not covered by so-called mainstream media? All the most important stories. Why? Because they would blow up the sources that these people need to middleman information and middleman narrative to you, the consumer. Um, this is not a cover up. This is not a scandal. It's simply business as usual. That's the media model. That's all there is to it. So when I see things like the Daily Caller, here the Daily Caller has an article. Katie Pavlik ties ABC's Epstein cover-up to Clinton's and Stephanopoulos. So the whole point of this article, and you know, the Daily Caller is going to be one of the only people covering this. It's in this conservative media or alternative media who's actually covering the story here. Basically, Tucker Carlson is reporting on it, and he runs the Daily Caller. Has something to do with it. He has Pavlik on, and she's talking about the star anchor's name is George Stephanopoulos, of course. Of course, Stephanopoulos worked with Bill Clinton, and kind of her point is that Stephanopoulos has a connection to Epstein. So does Clinton. All work at ABC. Clearly, he helped quash the story for the Clintons. Again, that is implying that there's something weird at play here, or that there's something strange at play. There's not. This is just the way it works. Yeah, you could say they squashed the story, or you can look at the actual way media fucking works And Fox News is not going to go against the mainstream Republican narratives, because if they did that, they would lose access to the mainstream Republicans that they need to middleman the information, to middleman the narrative that the mainstream Republicans would like you to know. Like on the other side of this, ABC is not going to middle or give you any information that loses their sources, who are people connected to the Clintons. I mean, if they run a story that hurts the Clintons in any way, um, they risk losing access to the Clintons. That's all there is to it. Nobody has to quash this story. And you can say, kind of Amy Robach, who doesn't really even seem to understand the way this works, says we were afraid we were going to lose an interview with the prince and princess. Well, I mean, that's so telling about how the entire model works. Um, she, look, if you have faith in a giant corporation to bring you the truth, and you think that their business model is delivering truth to you, and that they're selling truth, you're fucking retarded. No company on earth exists to sell you truth. B, I don't know, you're just fucking retarded. I mean, there's nothing else except you're a fucking idiot. Like, there's a business model. Every business has a business model. This business model is middlemaning narrative. There you go. So this is just more evidence of my prior videos on media. Don't call it a cover up. Call it the business model. This is the media business model. That's all I have for you today. It's been good talking to you guys again. Maybe I'll do another video shortly. I've been pretty busy with work, but this was a fun one that I wanted to comment on since I've been following this story. My name is Alex Cardell. This is the Own Yourself Show. I'll talk to you guys soon.